Hey there, Snap Happy Heather here. After my last video hiking the Manistee River Trail, I had lots of commentary from people about how they could never do a 20-mile hike. And at one point, that used to be me. So I thought today I would chat with you about how to tackle your first big hike if you wanted to do that. Everyone starts at a different place. So maybe 5 miles is a big goal right now, or maybe it's 10 or 20 or 40. Start where you are and don't plan on jumping straight into your goal. Our bodies are amazingly capable of adapting to things we ask them to do, but it's not smart to go from asking your body to take 2-mile hikes into taking 20-mile hikes without building up your mileage some first. A lot of marathon training plans have runners build up their mileage per week, and then before they run the marathon, which is 26.2 miles, their longest run is 20 miles. So I would take a similar approach to hiking. Build up your hikes until you're about 70 to 80% of your goal, and then go tackle your big goal. This will also give you time to figure out what you're comfortable in. For instance, on a 20-mile hike, this cotton t-shirt is never going to work. I need things that are going to whip moisture because I'm sweaty. I'm also prone to thigh chafing, so shorts are not my friend. I prefer to hike in leggings. I've also learned that my feet really prefer toe socks of all things. So I wear Injinji brand toe socks because I find that they stay put on my feet and they do a great job at preventing blisters. If you've followed me on Instagram for a while, you've probably noticed I'm also a huge fan of the shoe brand Altra, A-L-T-R-A. All of their shoes are 0 drop, which means that your heel is at the same height as your toe, so that can take some getting used to, but they all also have a wide toe box, and I happen to really need that. If you are a narrow-footed person, those are not going to be your best choice. If you know you have weak ankles or ankles that are prone to rolling, you might want to look at a higher rise boot. If you're going to be out for a long time, obviously you need to have enough food and water, and you need to be able to carry that with you. And I think that one of the most helpful things to have in that regard is a small backpack with a hydration bladder. If that sounds really technical or beyond your reach, don't worry, it isn't. You're going to want to look for something in like the 14 to 20 liter range. It'll say it right on the outside of the pack, and it'll be like 14L, 16L, 18L, 20L when you're shopping online. A 14-liter pack will give you enough room to bring like a layer for your top and food, and it'll have room for your water bag. I mostly carry a 20-liter pack because it has room for all of that, and I can comfortably throw my camera in. As far as the hydration bladder goes, it's just a bag that you fill with water, and it has the little hose that comes out, and it makes it super easy to drink while you're hiking. I usually like to carry a 3-liter bag because that's enough for me on a day trip. If you're worried that you're not going to have enough to drink on your hike, that's a totally solvable problem. Meijer carries them, and of course Amazon does, but they make little filtration things so that you can just put creek water in your bag, and then there will be a little inline filtration system that will filter the water safely for you. I think for about $20 you can pick one of those up, and it is good for tons of uses. Look for the brand Sawyer, S-A-W-Y-E-R, and that's an inline filtration thing. Speaking of shopping for that pack, you don't need to spend a ton of money to get something good. Everyone knows you could buy things on Amazon, but I really like to look for outdoor gear on Sierra.com. They're part of the TJ Maxx family, and you can get really great deals there. Right now they have a clearance bag for 16 liters for $30. I'm a big fan of Gregory bags, and I like their hydration setup. It's got a nice screw cap on, but I also really like the Osprey hydration kits. I'm not as big of a fan of Osprey bags. Personal preference. No one's paying me to trip over roots or endorse their products. As for foods, I like to pick things that are really nutrient and calorie dense. So I like to choose things like Lara bars and Epic bars, but I have recently discovered a brand called DNX, and I really like their jerky offerings. They have a lot of protein and they are not dry. And truthfully, I like to carry some candy with me because after I've done a long day, I start getting pouty, and candy makes me feel better. My go-tos are hard candies because it kind of doesn't matter. You can just throw them in a bag and then they survive the pack really well. I do not tend to like carrying overly salty snacks because it's really easy to dehydrate while you're out, and salt just seems to make it worse. If you've ever had any joint discomfort in your knees after a long hike, or you're unsteady on your feet, trekking poles are such a smart investment. Again, you don't have to spend a ton of money, and again, I recommend shopping at Sierra for these. And I also really like to get the ones that have wrist straps and are adjustable. You can look up specific recommendations for your height, but if you're doing a lot of downhill, you're going to want longer poles because you can put them out in front of you and help distribute your weight that way. And if you're on pretty flat ground, you'll go shorter with them. And same thing if you're going uphill, even shorter. And this is not like one of those old people recommendations. There's no age limit on these. I have had my 18-year-old nephew hike with these and they saved his joints as well. I mentioned that I'm sweaty and that extends to my feet. So I also like to carry KT tape, which you could buy online, or you can usually buy it at sporting goods stores. That way, it's a flexible fabric tape, and I cut a pretty large strip off of that and then stretch it comfortably on the spots of my feet that tend to blister, and it absorbs the friction, saving my feet. You can use things like moleskin as well. I just find that the KT tape sticks better and is more breathable. And it's probably cheaper per square inch. One of the things that encourages me to keep doing these big adventures is knowing I'm not going to feel like I got hit by a truck afterwards. And what I mean by that is that I've learned how to take care of myself. I do Epsom salt baths if I know that I've got tired muscles, and I will only use ice if I know I have inflamed joints. If I've stayed on pretty flat surfaces, I skip the icing because I just have tired muscles. And if I've done a lot of downhills, then I will actually go ahead and do the ice. Otherwise, ice just kind of contracts your already tired muscles and doesn't help with the recovery. If you've never purchased Epsom salts before, they're really cheap and they just come in a giant bag that says Epsom salt, and you can normally find them over by the bandages at the department store. I'm pretty sure there are instructions on the back of the bag, but I dump a liberal amount into a hot bath and then soak for about 20 minutes, and then I'm good to go. If you know you're going all out, or if you're prone to joint inflammation, I also really like to use compression sleeves in that case. You can wear them at any time. I tend to put them on after the activity, but you just slide them over your knees and they squeeze more, providing compression and enhanced blood flow, which encourages quicker healing. If I've had a really big day, I also just think they feel good. I would like to think it goes without saying, but if you're going out in the wilderness, make sure you have a way to be in contact with people, or if there is no way for you to be in contact with people, make sure that someone knows when to expect you back so that if search and rescue needs to come get you, they know when to come. More about feet, because you're going to spend a lot of time on them. Make sure you trim your toenails. Long toenails will brush into the top of your boots or shoes, and they will rub into each other, so you can end up with bloody toes really easily, or bruised toenails that last forever because they just repeatedly hit the tops of your boots. And if you're new to this, I hate to throw one more thing at you, but you might want to look into some lacing techniques that will hold your foot in place properly inside your footwear. So if you have really tall arches, there are ways to accommodate that with laces. If you know your foot slides forward in your shoes, again, there are ways to accommodate that. So I know it's a lot, but you do not have to live with discomfort. Just knowing that there are different lacing techniques might save you a lot of blisters and discomfort. To be clear, I am not a lacing expert. I am looking up stuff all the time after I have had a tiny blister or a hot spot, and I want to figure out how to alleviate that in the future. I'm really toasty right now, so I'm obviously thinking about ways to keep cool, but normally it's keeping warm that's the issue. Well, it is for me in northern Michigan. So dressing in layers is super important because you'll start out cold and maybe too cold, but then once you get going, you might end up too hot and sweating things up, which is also bad news. So I have a lot of synthetic base layers, mostly because they're cheap and they wash really well over multiple uses. But merino wool and merino wool blends also make a great option. And side benefit is if you have to wear them for multiple days, according to some astronaut I listened to on the Joe Rogan podcast, they do not stink. So yeah, doing big things is a lot about comfort. Take steps, especially to take good care of your feet. Have a decent pack so that you can carry water and food comfortably, and then ease into it. You can do 20 miles even if you can only do 2 right now, if you start by adding 3 and then 4 and then 5, and one day you will feel ready to tackle 20 or 40 like I'm hoping to do soon. I do have an Amazon page. It's amazon.com/shop/SnapHappyMichigan. If you want to check out any of the products I have linked there. I do make some kind of commission on that, but I don't know how much, and I never know what you buy or who you are. If you have any questions that you think I might be able to help you with, I am happy to respond. And otherwise, thanks for chatting with me, and we'll talk again soon.